All right. Yeah. This evening I want to talk about um, the first question I'm gonna ask or I'm gonna reply would be um, well, we all know my job, fastfabulist, seastarpenguin. But people might want to know about religion. Do I believe in God, for example? Or maybe I do have another religion. Uh, well, um, that's the issue tonight. Uh, well, uh, the there was this adoptive father who uh, who was with old Greek. So the and there is my name Alexander, which is also referring to the old Greek. So there was in a country, Holland, where most people are related to the church, both Catholic and Protestant. There I was uh, born in a situation where there was no church. There was to to the church. I only heard about this actually when I went to school, because at school they were related to the church, and well they explained why we were celebrating Christmas, why we were, because at these times uh, we were having holidays, and well uh, that's that's uh, that's of course very logical. Then they explained, but it was not the situation. Then I at Sunday I went to the church. Oh no, not at all. There was this situation that there was this uh, books. There were books, like I was uh, in a house where there were books, and the man who had the library, the adoptive father, read a lot about Aristotle. So again, the Alexander Aristotle youth is actually the case. Alexander was Aristotle was a teacher of Alexander the Great, so that history repeated itself. Well, later I got interested in astrology, and I had the idea uh, about I had a scientific education, and I believed in science, and so the whole Aristotle youth was like Aristotle, who was also examining, investigating nature. He was a scientist His approach to the world was an approach of a scientist. There is, of course, I wondered about Jesus Christ, and a thing that puzzled me always was, well, his birth. His birth was a virgin birth, and there is a word for that, parthenogenesis, and it happens to in nature. So basically, then, well, to me, it is like, wow, we are part of nature. So maybe somehow this way of reproduction is then also somehow possible in humanity, but we are uh, we are thinking this is not possible, but maybe we are mistaken. Well, this was a thing that I thought was most interesting about the story of Jesus Christ, because the rest of it I considered like the story of uh, a modern pop star who was then singing protest songs, was talking about love, very similar to the story of John Lennon. Of course, that was a story I heard about, and that was actually very recently and very, well, close to the life you were living, you were used to. And the story of Jesus, well, it was always, to me, it was like this is the same kind of story than John Lennon. Protest songs talking about love, and then there were people who were saying this is going too far, and this is, well, so another thing is that they all know about this special bird, but I wondered if today a mother would go to town hall and they ask her who is the father. Well, and she would say there is no father because it is the same as Jesus. It is parthenogenesis. I think she might risk to be put in the madhouse if she would continue to tell everybody that story. And to me, that is actually the most interesting part, and it was a kind of uh, well, it is actually unbelievable that if today someone would show up at, well, let's say Napoleon's desk with that story, that Napoleon would put her in the madhouse, but at the same time he is accepting the Pope, which then is all based on Jesus and of course the story of that bird. So that is uh, that's always something that was puzzling me. How, why no one ever before came up with this problem or with this thing, this inconsistency. Well, and furthermore, the idea then Mary was able to reproduce all by herself, that is actually a thing I think is more interesting maybe than, wow, all things Jesus was saying, which was basically about love and peace, which I agree, but that is not so different from what John Lennon is saying. And I believe he was saying uh, that he believed then he was the Son of God. Well, I think there he made a mistake because, well, Moses was on that mountaintop and he started this story about he had a voice from God. And I don't think that is the same, they are talking about the same thing. I don't think they're talking about the same thing. When Jesus is talking about I'm the Son of God, it is not the same thing as Moses, who was on the mountaintop hearing a voice, and then he said it was the voice of God talking to me. So you see, well, uh, brings me to Jehovanni. Jehovanni is the guy who is, I make up, of course, because there is no Jehovanni, but there are Jehovah Witnesses, and I like to give them a name, so I call them Jehovanni. And Jehovanni knows everything what that is written down in the book, and so Giovanni will. These are things I will tell to Giovanni, and then Giovanni will explain me. It's different, and will explain me that my doubt or my he will explain. And there is then something more. Um, we always talk about when Giovanni is around. That is the book of Revelation that says that there will be a beast, and that beast will be after a while thrown in the lake of fire. And the moment this beast will rise, they have to start building a temple. Well, here I have a real problem with the book because you see the story. I think these people are all talking about God. Moses is talking about God. Jesus is talking about God. The book of Revelation, written by John, is talking about God. But well, to me, they are talking about different things, but they all call it God. And well, there is a certain problem I would have if I would been told or maybe forced to believe in God. But that was never the situation because I was with Aristotle. So I never really had a problem. But as I said, if Giovanni comes around and starts talking about the things written in the book, then, well, if I have time, of course, then I always tell him about this. So I don't believe in God. That is very clear, I guess. But I do believe that I do like the idea of Mother Nature, and I do like the idea of providence, and I believe providence is then a thing people will relate to God. but I have the idea that without God you can talk about providence too. And they always talking about Mother Nature, which I agree, and I would have become could have been uh, a biologist, having this point of view, like Aristotle, examining in Mother Nature, examining on a scientific way nature, then today you would be a biologist and you could do a study at the university and become a biologist in the field, or a teacher of biology, or you could work in that field. But I found out about astrology, and this it was the to me it was the father time element, because then we were talking about Mother Nature, and but where is the father? And astrology then was the father time element. One, now I'm dividing it like it's masculine and feminine, but later I will show you this is actually not not necessary, but it is father time also represented by hourglass and a guy having a kite, I believe, and that is father time. But the clockwork or the watch is also a way to uh, measure time. But I found out, and that was why I thought astrology was so interesting, that actually the real clockwork was the astrology clockwork, the birthday charts, and the whole astrological uh, well way of thinking, and the planets are standing in that circle, in that clockwork, on a certain position at the time of birth, and that would have an important influence on the one who was born. Well, I loved that theory, because that theory also implies there is not, uh, well, there might be a genetic connection, so there might be a family tree, but the astrology also uh, suggests then there is another thing more of more importance on the identity of the newborn than the family tree. And I really like that idea. And I worked that out, and I still believe that is a very interesting subject, but a very hard to prove matter. And I still using it and still interested in that matter, but I won't call myself an astrologer. I call myself a fabulist, fast fabulist, and in my world I've got of fables. In my world of fables, I got someone representing then the astrologer, and that is the diving bell spider. So all the time I was working in that field, I relate now to the diving bell spider. Um, And then we come together. Then we are back in the first then Mother Nature and Father Time. They were divided, but astrology will lead uh, to fastfabulist seastarpenguin, and then the sea star, the big sea star I'm talking about, then is double. It can reproduce itself, and then there is also no division anymore between masculine and feminine. So that is a very interesting thing. And of course, the idea that all life started in the sea. And that is very easy when you talking about a big sea star, because then you could say in an astrological way, but also in a biological way, the we are all stars. We are all sea stars, but um, somehow we get selected, and only a few can stand the test and uh, become then that big sea star. Of course, that is that is actually my own story, and wow, I know, of course, if I would call this story scientific, then science today will say no. We will not accept this story as a scientific truth. But I already had that problem when I was working in the astrology field, and I started fabulism to avoid the discussion of astrology. It doesn't really matter to me if one thinks the story I'm telling is real or not real. If someone who, well, what matters is that sometimes the story helps people to sleep well, for example. Well, what does it matter then if the story is real or not real, if it helps you out of your problem? See? So so I'm not going to do more effort to have it called real or not real. And I think it is actually, in another example, I think this uncertainty of it's real or not real, is actually an advantage, because when I'm talking about, for example, the bad penguin, in one of my fables I have this bad penguin who is comparable as bad as the Batman penguin, who has fluked up the peanut bush monkey, and the whole peanut bush monkey is fluked up by that bad penguin. And he is a penguin kind Nero who set fire to a part of Rome, a part of Rome. But he did that himself, and then he blamed it to his enemies. I believe the Christians at that time, who he disliked very much. So he blamed his crime on the ones who he disliked. And well, you see, basically, in the idea of a penguin doing these things is not uh, necessarily untrue, but to me it is. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm not a cop, you know. I'm not a cop in this matter who wants to have certainty about that. Well, that specific uh, man with his name uh, has been doing this or has not been doing this. To me, it is enough on a theoretical level that that says, suppose there is a guy who has done this. How, if this is the case, how to deal with this person? You see, it to me it is all on a theoretical, theoretical level, and on that level it's all theoretical, and so it doesn't matter if it is with real names and real. So the fabulism is is very suitable to that theoretical level. So yeah, today I was then the subject of this evening was religion. It is obvious then I'm not believing in God, but I've got a story instead, which is also uh, well explaining then the universe enough, so there is no need for a substitution if one is not believing in God, and then one might find substitute in another religion. No, there is a complete, well, own religion, one could say, but I would like. It started like I'm a scientist and astrologer, biologer, but this then turned out to, well, to fabulist. That was very more. That was much better. Uh, and it was avoiding then the discussion of astrology. And now I work as fastfabulist seastarpenguin. I would, I will not change. I like this way once again because discussing questions in reality, like this Nero stuff, for example, it is much better than real journalism. So, and that is the same with real research results of science. You see, it doesn't really matter. If the story itself helps you to get sleep, well, then, like it helps me, then what does it matter if the story is then generally accepted as real or is generally accepted as a fable? That doesn't matter. Okay?